Tom Clark's Main Event is a Boink Studios production. And now, on with the show.
This is Daddy's show. Step off.
Hey, what is up? Welcome back to the program, folks. Thank you for tuning in. Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Tom Clark, and this is Tom Clark's Main Event. What's up, kids? Welcome back to the program. Happy Friday to you. How's you and yours doing? Mine and mine's is doing just fine, thank you. We have no grammar to speak of here on the show today. It's been a long week. It's been a good week. It has been a long week, but it's all good, as they say. It's always good, baby. You kidding me? It's always a good day. It's always a good day. Go tell your friends. I'm not going to put the overlay up at the moment because we've got a guest coming up shortly. He is running a bit late, a tad behind, just a scoosh, but we'll put the ticker up there. We're ticking right now. If you're only listening to the audio version of this podcast, man, are you missing out? Because you get missed out on all the bearded glory that is the one and only Tom Clark. I've been doing this since 2014, this little podcast. This is episode number 280. We are 20 weeks away from episode 300. That's right, kids. A milestone for yours truly. Can't wait to get there. We recently celebrated the 100th episode of Tom Clark's 6M podcast. That's movies, music, Marvel, magazines, miniseries, and more. Thank you very much. So, yes, them episodes just keep piling up. How's my hair? Am I good? It's funny because I walk like a mile and a half every morning now trying to get myself active again. And so I take a shower every single morning. I'm going to be straight with you, man. There were some weeks when I would go 2 or 3 days without a shower. Isn't that disgusting? But hey, man. Hey. I'm going nowhere with that. But anyways, I'm fresh and clean now. Outcast would be proud. Let's say hello to the kids that have shown up so far. Eric Jackson, what's going on, my friend? Good to see you. Renato Ramirez Rodriguez, triple R to you. How you doing, my friend? Robbie, what's going on? Double V, Victor Vasquez, good to see you. I know E's not going to be with us. It's E's birthday. So everyone go wish E happy birthday. The other Martinez, Carlos Martinez, has accompanied us here today. Ray all day, what's good, my friend? Good to see you. Will's on time. Saints be praised. Hello, Frank Zane. How are you, my friend? I feel like I should call you Frankie Zane. Is that a thing? Do I know a Frankie Zane like a wrestler? That sounds like a wrestler name. Frankie Zane. Jane, it's been a month of Sundays since you came and watched my show. To be fair, I've not kept a regularly maintained schedule for a long time. Good to see you. Yeah, you're going to Ray says he can't wait to co-host the 300. 300. Hello, Mac. How you doing, my friend? Toby, what's going on? What's good? Good to see you. People are continuing to filter in. Frankie Zane is an old bodybuilder. Is that right? Why did I think it was a pro wrestler? Frankie Zane. It sounds familiar, but I don't think I know it from that. Frankie Zane. I don't know. Good to have you here, Jane, as always. Thank you very much. Ray, butter me up already. Isn't that something? What's up, Choche Vega? What's going on, my friend? Good to see you. Timothy says, what good? What's up with you, my friend? Dude. I heard that Max Caster talking about the Vince McMahon retired. Oh, that's good. That's good stuff. All right, kids, go look this man up, if you will. His name is Brino Royce, professional wrestler. He's on the Facebook, Brino Royce. He will be joining us here very shortly. To give us a wrestler's perspective on the business today and also to tell us about his own career, where he came from, where he's at right now, and where he's headed in the future. That'll be fun. You guys know that I've had wrestlers on the show here before. I've had, main event level, travel the world, and then I've had guys that are not quite to that level. But we're going to be talking to someone. I think Brino said he's been in the business now for about a year. I thought this would be fun for everybody here, for you guys to ask questions. If any of you have legitimate questions about what it's like to be a working professional wrestler, what it's like to get into the business at the age that he's getting in, and to really apply his craft and to learn his craft as he goes. And I'm anxious to get to the interview. As I said, he is running a bit behind, so everybody please be patient. In the meantime, is there anything you guys and gals want to talk about before we get cranking here today? We're going to go at about an hour, as we usually do. Let's see. Robbie, excuse me, says, well, as of Monday, I'll be as bald as King Kong Bunny and plan to stay that way. They may take my hair. Oh, you're going to do away with it? So funny story. Back in the day when I first got in the business, I shaved my head clean, baby. Kojak, that joke's outdated. We'll just call it Vin Diesel. How about that? And I straight razored it and kept it that way for a while. And I only did it because of the gimmick. I just thought it would make me look a lot more intimidating. But turns out when you were as fat as I was, you had like chubby cheeks, like a baby face kind of thing. So I kind of looked menacing, but not really. The only thing menacing about me was the black leather and the black gloves and the black everything. And the fact that I'm 6'3", that's menacing, right? Or at least it was, right? But yeah, the face didn't help my cause any. As is always the case, the face never helps my cause. I got a face made for radio, Jack, but it's all good. Everyone wish E is here. Everyone wish Elvis Martinez a very happy birthday. E, even though you give me grief and you always try to crap and rain on the parade, it's okay. It's all right. Happy birthday to you, my friend. Frank says, if Sasha and Naomi are going to have the titles still when they come out to WWE, I don't know how they're going to handle that. It's going to be interesting to see what's going to happen. I would love to see Tom Clark interview I would love to interview the Rainmaker as well. You're not the only one who'd love to see that. I would love to see that as well. Are you kidding me? Let's see. Yeah, now, boy. Chris says, first time in a few weeks watching you live because I've been uptown where I got the notification. Oh, there you go. Thanks for hanging out, my friend. Always means loads to me when you guys and gals tune in. We're missing some of our regulars. Has anyone seen Shannon in a while? I haven't seen Shannon in a good while. Carlos says, did you hear about the people of TNT are not happy with the viewership of Rampage? It might get cut. I'll believe that when I see it. I'll believe that when I see it. I mean, you got to remember Friday night's pretty much a death sentence for any programming on TV, much less pro wrestling. Yeah, I don't want to see anything happen to that show. I don't want to see anything happen to any of these shows, man, for sure. Jamie Salmons, welcome back to the show. Regular viewer, thanks for hanging out. Let's say a couple more. I was going to say goodbye as well. That's it. Thanks for tuning in. I'm just teasing. Let's get to a few more hellos, and our guest has arrived, kids. So hopefully you guys and gals are ready for Mr. Royce. We're going to get him on stage shortly. He's on deck, as they say. He's taking some practice swings. I'm not a baseball guy. Just full disclosure. He's taking some practice swings. He's almost ready. So we'll talk to him in just a scoosh. Keith, what's up, my friend? Whoa, Tim, you said Shannon got a new job and moved back to Missouri. You people know more about each other than I know. My audience knows more about each other than I even know about them. That's how long you kids have been hanging out together, watching my stuff. I appreciate you. You guys are the best, man. Are you kidding me? Someone named Augie Andy is here. Hello, my friend. It's okay. I dig your profile pic. How about that? All right, kids, we're not going to make this gentleman wait any longer. We're going to bring him on the stage now, ladies and gentlemen. If you will, please help me give a very warm welcome to professional wrestler here in the Carolinas, Mr. Brino Royce. Brino, how are you, my friend?
Man, thank you for having me. I'm very excited to sit down with you finally.
Yes, sir. Thanks for joining us, dude. Brino, these are the kids. Kids, this is Brino. Kids, please make Mr. Royce feel welcome. There you go. Let's see here. Let's get the overlays working here to our advantage and not our disadvantage. We'll get there. And nope. Well, that's kind of working. Let's try that again. It's a background. I have to navigate the menu. As I'm navigating the menu there, Brino, thanks again for joining me, dude. I very much appreciate it. As we get cranking here, before we start fielding questions from the audience, why don't you give the kids here a little bit of your background? When did you come to the great profession of pro wrestling? How long you've been doing this? Kind of give us a quick summary of who is Brino Royce.
Absolutely. So let's see, from the beginning. I started training to be a professional wrestler when I was 16 years old in the 11th grade. and I haven't ever really stopped training. However, I couldn't just work because I was in college at the time and I was a part of this team to where I could not be like in a different activity where I could get hurt.
Hmm.
So I could always go train, but I'm always talking to my trainers. I'm like, hey, please don't post any pictures of us training. Like I can't be here. I can't be working shows. Always training, but just could never be seen doing it just because of the contract I had with the college or whatever. And now that I'm out of school now, I have the opportunity to just finally do it. And so this October coming, it'll be a full year working.
Nice. You know, we hear things about pro athletes all the time about how they can't get, get any sort of shenanigans in the off season, can't dirt bike, can't bungee jump, can't do certain things because, yeah, that's interesting to hear, man. What is it that drew you to the business? What is it that made you were like, I have to do this? And I don't know if it'll be a singular event or a match or a wrestler, how that works for you. But is there a moment where it clicked for you in your head where you're like, that's it, I'm doing this?
So pretty much from the time I was born, I would say like 2, 3 years old. I was born in '97, but and it just so happened that my mom was like she was the popular kid in the apartment complex. So anytime wrestling was on, everybody her age would just like pile in the apartment. And like my oldest memories are just hearing like the entire house going, if you smell like that's my like oldest memories of just people like yelling the rock catchphrases. And I would just see her with friends, like this is how they greeted each other with the two sweet things. So that's pretty much just been what I wanted to do since I could got old enough to like see the TV and know what was going on. I was like, cool, like that I'm doing this, no question.
That's awesome. I grew up a Jim Crockett kid, so it was the same for me in my house. Except when I was a kid, it was Dusty. Dusty was, the people's champion at that time. You know what I mean? So like, I was talking about baseball earlier. I grew up. It was just me and my mom. We lost my dad at a very early age, right? So like, it was just me and her, and we didn't have money to go to a baseball game. We didn't have money to go, do these expensive things. But we had $5 to go to a wrestling show. I mean, who didn't at that time? So like, my dad was very much a pro wrestling fan, so it got me into being a pro wrestling fan. So I stuck with it for years and years and years. Started writing about the business around the year 2010, writing online for several different online publications. Got into the business around the year 2000. So yeah, it's dude, and you can testify to this with everybody watching. Once you get the itch, you've got it. And like
Oh, for sure, for
once you
sure.
start chasing that dream, man, who do you model yourself after? I mean, The Rock would be an easy answer, and if that's the answer, it's fine. But is there anybody else that you sort of take inspiration from now that you're actually in the ring working?
Oh, for sure. So when I was younger, like first starting to train, of course, it was like the more polarizing figures in like WWE, like for sure The Rock, your edges, you're just cool guys. But as I got a little bit further into training, like third, fourth year, I really started to like just care more about like the in-ring style, and I got way interested in like European wrestling, Japanese wrestling. So like my Zack Sabre Juniors, my Fit Finleys, Lord Steven Regal, like the Benoits, the Malenkos, like the guys who could really get in there and go.
That's interesting. I love me some Zack Sabre Jr., man. He is, I mean, he's one of the best working right now, without a
And
doubt. Without
so
a
like a
doubt.
little like running joke between me and my manager Michael King, like I'm like Black Sabre Jr.
Dude, that's awesome. I love that. Are you kidding me? You got to put that on a t-shirt. Are you kidding? That's great. That's really good. Um, yeah, man, he's so good. I would say he's underrated, but I don't know if he's underrated. I think people pretty much give him his props these days, and they should.
Yeah, I feel like more so than just him being underrated. I feel like the style he works is underrated.
I agree with that. And not for nothing, kids. If you're used to the flash bang pow cartoon wrestling that some companies give you, you may not have the patience for a Zack Sabre Jr. match, but that's no excuse to not watch because the guy is phenomenal. Let's see. Ron Emerson has checked in. What's up, Ron? How you doing, my friend? Good to see you.
And Mr. Consigliere, yes, sir.
There we go. We're getting a few. Everyone's saying hello to you, so that's cool. We've got, and you may have already answered this already, but we're going to hit you with this. This is Ray Dean. We call him Ray all day. He's a loyal viewer. Ray says, who are some wrestlers you admire and what style of wrestling do you do? More
Oh, this my Adam
rope,
Cole dude.
rope stuff or mat work? Also, yeah, that's the, yeah. He, Ray is Adam Cole for life. Okay. Just so
Okay,
you know,
I love
massive Adam
Adam
Cole fan.
Cole.
There you go.
So my guys that I would say I model myself after, like I take a little bit and piece from everybody's game for sure. Ric Flair. And you'll see that more so in my out of ring stuff. Like if you see my promos and you see the kind of stuff I'm wearing and how I'm speaking, very much Ric Flair. I love Nick Aldis from the NWA.
oh, yeah.
And that's really where I get my moniker, the Rolls Royce of wrestling from, because Nick is the national treasure.
Yes.
So I saw him and I wanted something luxurious, something tough, and something that I haven't seen a lot of. So the Rolls Royce just fit, and that kind of was inspired by Nick Aldis. Pete Dunne for sure, Zack Sabre Jr. for sure. I really love Kyle O'Reilly, and
Good
I'm
stuff.
trying not to leave anybody out. Got to throw Malenko on there again.
Oh yeah, and I love that you mentioned all this. He is a class act.
Yes, sir.
If you've ever seen anybody go at him on Twitter, he never stoops to their level. He doesn't have to. Like he's class act all the way, man. I mean, good stuff. So we talked a little bit about characters. So that's basically where that comes from. You would say it's a combination of Aldis, maybe Flair. Is there anything outside of the pro wrestling world that you might look at, other forms of entertainment, anything you might take here or there? Or do you tend to do that maybe subconsciously sometimes?
Oh, absolutely. I do it on purpose. So a lot of how I deal with the press and like shows such as this one comes directly from Muhammad Ali.
Nice.
And pretty much that comes from wrestling because he was inspired by Gorgeous George, but whatever.
He was.
So Muhammad Ali, by the time he died at his funeral, they had to have it in an arena.
Mm-hmm.
There were religious leaders from different religions, like there were comedians, there were entertainers, there were athletes. Like he was universally loved because he knew that he could get people's attention by manipulating media. That was his medium. And I really just admire that he pretty much just understood business. He knew if I get on this talk show that plays during this time of the day and I piss off these amount of people, they're gonna come see me fight. And if I brag about being undefeated and I piss off this dude, they're gonna come see me. So eventually they can see somebody whoop me. But it's not gonna happen because I'm Muhammad Ali. Like he got it. And he picked up quicker than a lot of athletes did. Like nobody was doing that in the 60s.
100%. And I mentioned Dusty before. Dusty had a way of talking them into the building.
Oh yeah.
You go back and watch Dusty's promos, and you're going to do one of two things. You're going to jump up and scream and want to punch the wall. You're going to come off your couch. You're going to go buy a ticket. I mean, it's the effect he had on you. Ali had the same effect. And like you said, just by making people mad, he had the ability to talk people into the building. That's what a legend he is, man. And honestly, not for nothing, I would put Ali and Dusty side by side for their chosen professions. I don't know if you can make a lot of difference there, honestly.
I can see that for sure. I agree.
Yeah, I mean, Dusty was in a league of his own in pro wrestling, no doubt. Robbie says, Mr. Royce, in the era of so many stories of school shootings by kids these days, if you were asked to give a motivational speech to give your story of how you wanted to be a wrestler, what other words of wisdom would you give to students who feel like outcasts? That was going dark for a second, but I like how you wrapped it up, Robbie. That's a good question. I mean, what would be your message? And that kind of feels like a last question of the interview kind of thing. I don't mean it.
So that's actually a very good question because I am a teacher. I teach at James F. Burns, and I just left practice. And pretty much the way, and we'll get into it later, but the way I approach wrestling itself, just like the moves themselves, the way I approach my interviews and just my character and approach is because I did feel like an outcast, and like because I still do feel like an outcast. But I know that if I go ahead and do what I need to do now, it'll make people who felt like me that are coming after me, they'll feel more comfortable to step on into that space where they feel like they need to be. So I've never grew up real poor, so there were like I just didn't have the opportunity to wait on anybody sometimes. Like there's a lot of stuff in my life I just had to make happen for myself. And hopefully by me doing that, I can make stuff better for the people who come behind me.
Mm. That's a great attitude, man. And honestly, we're very similar in that regard because we could probably have very similar stories as growing up, and my mom did the best she could. Don't misunderstand me, kids, but we had an empty refrigerator a lot of days. I'm just saying, and it wasn't
Oh yeah,
because
for sure.
you know what I mean. Like it wasn't because she didn't want to put anything in there, but it's like we're still 5 days away from payday. Holy God, what's going to
For
happen
sure.
tonight?
Yeah.
I mean, whew. And I have a 13-year-old, right? So I try to tell my kid, you don't know how good you have it. And I'm glad he doesn't know because God knows I don't want to be financially in a situation where I can't take care of my family. But like he doesn't understand the struggle, like that you don't understand. If no one's ever gone through it, good for you. But wow,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? Crazy. And it's that thing. And I'm not trying to bag on today's generation because I don't make a blanket statement like that. But for him and his friends, I don't think any of them know what it's like to go through with an empty refrigerator and bill collectors are knocking and calling and won't leave you alone. And that's another story for another day. But yeah, man. Ray with a really good question. What's your finisher? And if you could team up with Adam Cole, would you? Ray, you're killing me.
So, I was using this thing that I was calling the win place show, which are the three placements you get for a horse race. Um, but just I would say, what's today? Friday?
Mhm.
I think Wednesday, I just decided not to use a finisher anymore. And what I'm gonna do, like, because the way I approach a heel is like it's very different from what people expect from a person to portray a heel as. I don't do like the eye gouging and the closed fist punches. Like I don't throw punches at all.
Wow.
I don't do the rope hung chokes. Like everybody can't do that. Every heel can't do that.
Hmm.
Because we got, let's see, on the show we got like a 6, 7 match card. You telling me every single heel did that and nobody got disqualified all night long? Doesn't make
Good
any
point.
sense.
Good point.
So the way I approach being a heel is actually by baiting baby faces into doing stuff that are against the rules, but they aren't as heavily enforced rules anymore. So my last big match was against the North Carolina wrestler. His name is Zay Vega. And
Mhm.
I went up and mushed him in the face. And after I did that, he hit me with a closed fist punch, and the referee had to admonish him for like 30, 45 seconds. That's how I'm a heel.
Psychology. I can respect that. I can respect that. Yeah, and uh, uh, kids, we're using insider terms now, and I don't know. It's 2022. Who doesn't know what these words mean? But to Brino's point, you may not like what he does. You may not like him when he's out in the ring doing his business, but at the end of the day, it doesn't really matter. What matters is whether or not he gets the win, and he's going to do whatever he has to do to get the win. And honestly, we can point fingers and say things, but you got to respect the fact that no one gives the Lakers grief if they're trying to win a game. No one's upset when the Boston Red Sox are trying to win a game. You're just trying to win a game. I mean, it's about trying to win a match. So sometimes you got to do what you got to do. How much does psychology play into this for you? And is there a wrestler that we've not spoke of that maybe you take psychology from?
Oh man, so psychology for me is pretty much like 99% of the match, and that really clashes with the South and how the South approaches professional wrestling. I really just so I've been seeing Jonathan Gresham around, and I just really found out who he was about 2 months ago. But when I'm interested in an athlete or like somebody that I'm kind of modeling myself after at the time, I like to watch their interviews and see how they think and see like what their minds are doing. And pretty much Jonathan Gresham and I like we align pretty much like 100% as far as like psychology goes. So I would say him and Zack Sabre Jr. in that they both treat it like a sport, and that's what I'm going for. because like we call this a sport all the time. We call ourselves athletes, but like, what really is sporty about it if everybody's doing the silly stuff? You know,
Hmm.
like somebody's got to wrestle.
That's such a refreshing point of view. I freaking love that. And Gresham is, I mean, he's one of the best in the world. You could make the case he's, I mean, I would make the case he's top 5. Easy. I mean,
Yeah, and
he's
it
very
was
good.
kind of crazy how it happened because I was very near to caving to doing what everybody wants me to do as a heel. Because they see me with a suit on and they see me like forming complete sentences, and they're like, well, you need to be more antagonistic. You need to be like Ric Flair. You need to blah, blah, blah. You need to. But then I watched this Jonathan Gresham interview, and he was like, how many, like before, like you knew me, and people who like still don't know me now, how many famous black technical wrestlers have you ever known? And I'm like, yo, you're right.
Hmm.
He was like, hey, you
Yeah.
don't have to be the song and dance black wrestler. You don't have to be just the like triple backflip circus dude black wrestler. Like some people should just be allowed to be wrestlers sometimes. And like I think we are a lot of times expected to go the song and dance route, the comedy route, the but you don't see any just like genuine badass technical black wrestlers. So I kind of feel like now I almost have like a responsibility to stick to it. So like whoever comes up after me, be like, yo, I just want to wrestle, you know?
Yeah, and honestly, I'm through my head. I'm sure there are, but in my head, I'm trying to think on the main stage who we talking about. I mean, you could make the case that Swerve Scott. Swerve Scott's got great game, but he's very entertainment. He's got the flair, and that's fine. Keith Lee, he's a hoss. Is he
Yeah.
technical? I mean, no, I see where you're coming from. My second podcast is the 6M podcast, cheap plug, kids. And it's movies, music, Marvel magazines, miniseries, and more. And we've done wrestling on there, but we do a lot of other stuff too. And I record most of the time. My co-host, he lives in Chicago. His name is Phil Lindsay. He also writes for Bleacher Report. And Phil's African American. And we've had long conversations on podcasts and off mic about how things are in the business. And we were actually talking last night because we did Unbreakable. We reviewed the movie Unbreakable.
Okay.
And we were talking about an example of how things are in the business and how Crime Time back in the day was funny. They were from the hoods and they dressed thug and they had the big chains and they were stealing and all this other stuff. And you could make the case of, well, Tom, what's the problem? They're on TV every week. They're
I
selling
was about to say, like,
merch.
I felt bad about that as a kid. Like that was
See, there you go.
embarrassing as a kid.
Great. See, that's great feedback. That's feedback you don't get from a white dude. That's excellent feedback.
Like that
And
was like these guys are probably on TV more than any other black talent at the time. And they're doing like the stereotypically black stuff. Like, can we not just be like wrestlers, you know? That
yeah,
was a bit like I would always snap away from like Raw or whatever show they were on whenever they came on. Like it was embarrassing.
see, that's a valid point. We were talking about this, and Phil's point was, he's like, you're right. And look who was across the ring was John Cena, who was running essentially the same gimmick, but he's the top guy. And I'm like,
Yeah.
when you hear it put certain way, you're like, all right, I totally get it. And like, again, from my chair, I would always, and I wasn't defending Vince, but I would always come back with, they're on TV every week. They're selling merch. They're getting paid, hopefully very well. And, but then it's like, yeah, but you're missing the big picture. You're missing the picture of why can't they just be wrestlers? It's an
Yeah,
excellent point.
and I see the same thing with the Usos because these guys are
Mm,
Samoan, but they talk like us.
yeah.
They move like us, they act like us as heels because when you're trying to be a heel, you're trying to be threatening. You're trying to be what people fear. And in society, what do we fear here? Like as far as demographics. So they emulate that now and they're good heels because they're acting like how people expect black people to act.
Mm, that's a good point. Is that, do you consider that appropriation? Do you look at it that
Um
like that or no?
it's real difficult in wrestling. I've definitely thought about it for sure, but I don't know. It's a very slippery slope. I don't think they are doing it in a disrespectful manner,
Right, right.
but they are definitely, just like you were saying with like John Cena, they are definitely being put in a place position for something that we have to not do or we have to act other than. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's, if we go that far, kids, you could say, is Eddie Kingston doing it? Yeah, but Eddie's real. Like what you see
Yeah.
Eddie wearing is that's what he wears when he's not in the ring. It's how he talks when he's not on camera. Eddie's real. That's him. Like you could make the case, and I don't know the answer to this. What was John wearing when he got to the arena back in the day? Was he maxed out in the gear or was he wearing slacks? I mean, I don't know the answer to that. If that's how he really dresses now, how he dressed then, okay, that's John Cena. Who cares how he dresses? But if he's not, then maybe that starts to feel just a little bit weird. You know what I mean? So I think there's a good point to be had there. Tim says, Mr. Royce, I'm a diehard AEW fan, and my question is, which AEW superstar is very underrated to you that which people don't talk about, and what's your take on Jade Cargill?
Let's see, underrated. Just because I'm like a super duper crazy like Kyle O'Reilly fan, anywhere he goes, I'm gonna think he's underrated just because he's my favorite. Let's see. I'm gonna come back to that one and I'm gonna jump on Jade Cargill. I feel like she gets a lot of undue hate. I don't ever see her in the ring, and she was worse than the last time she was in the ring.
Hmm.
I see that like for sure she's a star. Like she has the look, she has the ability, and I think she gets better just like pretty much every time. And then when people are like saying whatever they're saying to her on Twitter, on Facebook, whatever, like they're getting worked. That's the gimmick. Like I feel like anytime you go at a wrestler for something they're doing on screen, it's like you don't think the back office approved this first? Like you're getting worked by the product they pay her to put out. I think she is phenomenal. I mean, I feel like she's for sure like a draw. And then you don't see black women portrayed how they want to be portrayed in professional wrestling a lot. So for sure there are like little black and brown kids everywhere looking at Jade Cargill as like a role model. So that's always good.
Yeah, she's come a long way. I mean, there's still moments in the ring that it's awkward, and there's moments when
Yeah.
I feel like she gets lost. Um, and I mean, and you know how things work. I mean, you have to, if losing your place is a death sentence. I mean, if you forget certain things, and I'm not going to let cow the bag here, but if you forget certain things, it's a bad day. But like I see glimpses of that with her. Now it has gotten a lot better, and honestly, in
I was
her
gonna
defense, she's had to learn everything on live TV. Brino, that's a big deal.
Yeah, and then to that point, every wrestler that's not a veteran is gonna have that time because if a vet messes up, they'll just make it look like they messed up on purpose, and they'll just cover that up and like keep working. And that's not something a person who's new can just do. Like that's gonna come with time. I still do that.
Hmm,
It's just all like a matter of finding your groove and knowing like what would your character do in this situation.
hmm.
Like, how would you really react to this in real time?
Good point. Yeah. Let's see. Robbie says, I agree. JYD and Coca Beware were more comedy than technical. Rocky Johnson was more technical, but Rocky was Showtime also. Rocky Johnson was. I
Yeah,
mean,
yeah, for sure.
and honestly, JYD sold more tickets than probably, no disrespect to Rocky and Coco. I mean, JYD sold more tickets than both those guys combined because he had the Showtime factor. He was, I mean, ask everybody what
He's the
happened to Mid
man. He's the
South.
man.
What happened to Miss South when JYD left? It went in the hole. I mean, they lost a ton of money when he left, went WWE. I mean, there's a prime example of how over he was. So there you go. There you go. Gary Benfield is watching, kids, the owner, promoter of High Velocity Wrestling. You got a show to talk about coming up on August 27th with HVW Inferno. Um, let's talk about Inferno a little bit. Talk about HVW a little bit.
Yes, sir. So, I actually just had the pleasure of meeting Mr. Benfield, I want to say 2 weeks ago at AWL down in Welford at Jimmy Ward's place. I'm gonna be there on the 27th, wrestling K Holiday. Just like we were talking about earlier, K is one of those more fast-paced, uh, hybrid style wrestlers, and I'm very much looking to slow him down and tie him up.
Ah, well, there you go. See, it's okay to build hype for a match, kids. Nothing wrong with that at all. Um, yeah, Inferno is going to be a fun night. That's going to be a quite the show to get into for sure. Um, so yeah, dude, local pro. I say the words local pro wrestling. That has sort of a negative connotation for whatever reason. But in terms of it being local events and shows that you're getting involved with, I mean, how has it been so far with you sort of cutting your teeth? And can you name any opponents you've had that have sort of, opened your eyes to certain things, who have maybe gave you a hand up in certain places, anything like that that you want to talk about in terms of guys that you've worked with over the past year?
Okay, yeah. So I would say last September, I was able to work Ricky Morton in a tag match,
Nice.
and me being just like the young kid, the Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, Greco-Roman wrestling, I went in thinking to wrestle, right?
Right.
And I went to wrestle Ricky. Ricky did not like that at all. And then we got back behind the curtain, and another guy on the show pulled me aside. He was like, "Dude, what the hell are you doing?" He was like, "You went out there trying to wreck, like this is you're out there with Ricky. You're just like playing Ricky Morton's greatest hits like right now. You're not out there to compete and do all this stuff." So I really treat every match as if like I want to win it. And apparently that was something I shouldn't have done at the time. I was supposed to just like, be a supporting cast member, and that's when I really had to just start looking at it differently of like, okay, what's my role in this match? What am I here to do type thing.
Right. Ricky's he's such a legend. And we had the opportunity to do some things with him back in when I first got into the business. We were running a little show in Lenore, and we had Ricky up just about every weekend. It was a long time before we actually got Robert up, because that at that time he and Robert weren't barely talking anymore. They'd had some kind of falling out or whatever, and they've made offenses since then, of course. But we had Ricky up almost every weekend, and just being in the locker room, listening to that guy talk, and you hear those stories all the time about being around veterans that had something to say, and you could always tell when the veterans in the locker room, because like everybody's sitting in folding chairs around that guy as he's sort of,
Yeah.
telling stories and taking everybody to school. I mean, you can't buy that, man. I mean, that kind of stuff, you just got to hope you end up in the locker room with
Oh,
somebody as
for sure.
talented as
For
he
sure.
is.
And then to that
Um,
point, I guess there will be like vets in the business who won't have the most positive things to say. So a lot of times a good skill to develop is figuring out what they said and then pulling the positives out of that.
right,
Because you will expect, like you hear the name and you associate the name with, oh, that's the person from blah blah blah. This is going to be the greatest experience of my life, blah blah blah. And you meet them and it's not like that, and you end up
right,
getting
yeah,
crushed. Like, don't meet your heroes, that type
don't,
thing.
yeah, it's true.
So you really gotta develop the skill of trying to figure out what you can still take out of what they said.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, you're right. Don't meet your heroes, because sometimes it doesn't work out too well. Like I've heard things about Flair over the years. I've heard people say they met him and he was a jerk, and I have a friend who met him and he was a nice guy. So I honestly I think a lot of it depends on what day do you catch them, what kind of mood are they in. Punk, I
How
mean, the
many?
same thing
I was
as
about to say for Flair, probably how many drinks he done had.
that's a good point too. And we've heard the stories about Punk also, where people talk about Punk was a jerk, and Punk fires back with, yeah, but you bothered me in the middle of dinner with my wife. I'm not going to give you an autograph when I'm standing in line to get a cheeseburger or something else. What are you talking about? So you got to know when to pick them. You got to know when to ask somebody for something, and please and thank you go a long way as well.
For sure.
So Ron says, I can't wait to hear Tom do commentary for your match with Kay Holiday. It's going to be a fun match, man. I enjoy calling
I think it'll be
HVW for
fun for
sure.
me.
Kay's a very talented guy, man, for sure, and I know you are as well. It's gonna be fun to watch. Let's see here. let's see. Ray says, in my opinion, WWE usually has African Americans dance or being a thug. I agree. What about that tag team with Cole? He never got his answer whether or not you tag team with Adam Cole.
See, not for too long. If so, I would have to cross him first because at this point he has a record of crossing over his partners after he's got enough use out of them.
Yeah. Yeah, there you go. I mean, we see what happened last night, so there you go. Or Wednesday night, excuse me. So let's see. Toby says, what's your current height, weight? Are you a power wrestler or a high flyer? Legitimate questions.
Let's see, I am standing at 5'9" right now at 15 stones. I have my weight in the United Kingdom weight just to go with the whole Rolls Royce thing. What was the last part of the question?
And are you a power wrestler or a high flyer?
So primarily I'm a technical wrestler, and whenever I need to change gears, I'll go and be the suplex guy. So kind of power, but like fourth quarter power.
Yeah. There you go. That's a good answer. Yeah, man. It's, keeping it grounded. There's something to be said about keeping it grounded. I think I've heard Jim Ross say on commentary more than one time, when you leave your feet, you're taking a chance that maybe you don't need to take. Be very careful
For
when you
sure.
leave your feet. I mean, it's, everybody wants to go home safe that night. You know what I mean? So, or go home
I
in one
really
piece.
like to so not taking unnecessary risks, and I love conserving noise. Because a lot of people, like, like the term being heavy-handed, a lot of people are like heavy-footed and they make so much unnecessary noise and that messes with the audience's attention. Anytime you hear loud noise while I'm in the ring, something is happening, like something that matters is happening. So I'm trying to be pretty much as like swift and light on the mat as I can while I'm working the ground or like trying to slow somebody down, because when I like do hit a suplex or I do like hit a big move, it should matter and people should differentiate that sound from what they see.
Good call. Yeah. And I mean, there is such a thing about lifting them up and then bringing them back down. I mean, if
For sure.
you can't have 4 straight matches of triple threats and trash cans and triple backflips. And eventually the crowd's going to be like, I need a nap. I can't do this anymore. So yeah.
And to that point right there, that's pretty much what I'm going for during my matches. I'll get like a lot of people be like, you need to work that crowd, you need to work that crowd, you need to work that crowd. I'm like, I am, by not giving them what they want to see. Like,
very good. Yeah.
if I'm a heel and your advice to me is I need to work them more or I need to do things that they're used to seeing more, if I go out there and I do what they're used to seeing, that makes me a babyface.
Very good point. Yeah. Yeah.
What they want.
And not to throw shade, you know what I mean? Because like, what do I know? The guy's got millions of dollars in the bank account, and more power to him. That's awesome. But like, I see a guy like Kevin Owens through the years, and he's a funny heel, and like he works for the reaction sometimes, and I'm like, why are you doing that? Like, what? Why do you have to get cheered as a heel? I don't understand. Like, I don't know. It's just that old adage of how am I getting paid? Am I getting paid for the crowd to hate me? I'm gonna make them hate me. Am I getting paid for them to cheer me? I'm gonna make them cheer me. Like, there's something to be said for sticking to what's your role here? What is it you're being asked to do? I'm gonna make that happen. I mean, like you said, if you went out there and worked in the opposite direction, I mean, that's not doing the match any favors. That's not doing you any favors. I mean, if the idea is, I don't care if people like when I bend the rules. I don't care if people like if I don't say the right thing. I just want to get paid and go home and win this match. I mean, if that's your mindset, why would you ever deviate from that? Right?
Yeah, like that to me, like the guy you described, that's who I would boo. Like the guy who isn't acknowledging the crowd.
Right.
And I really pull a lot of my heel influence from somebody like Michael Jordan or Kobe Bryant. Which
Well
is
done.
weird to say because to the fans, those guys are heroes. But if you ask anybody who was around in those locker rooms, they hated Kobe. They hated Michael Jordan
It's true.
because they were like jerks. That's the kind of dude I'm going for. I'm only a jerk in the ring when I need to be, or when I feel like I need to push somebody down to stay at the top. And I'm really so another place too is from. It's gonna sound crazy, but the last two Avengers movies. And so what my goal, just like we were talking about, is like crowd reaction, blah blah blah. I'm going for like the New Japan like golf clap type. Okay, like look at his technique type wrestling. Like this is the art type thing. And
Right.
also, when I'm not giving those guys what they want, if not booing, I would like them to just like sit in like just silent discomfort. And it's almost the way that. Have you seen Infinity War?
Oh, of course. You're talking to a Marvel addict over here, for sure.
Yes, sir. So you remember that feeling after everybody disappeared and then the credits rolled in the
Of
first
course.
one? There isn't any save.
Nope.
There isn't any like nothing. Your favorite guy just lost.
Yep.
And there's nothing you can do about it. That's what I'm going for. Like I want organic, I'm just better than your favorite guy type heat. Like
That's
I
good
didn't have to
stuff.
cheat. I didn't have to do anything special. I came out here and I used wrestling because like I'm everywhere right now. But on another tangent, professional wrestling has evolved so much that I can be a heel just by using technical wrestling.
Yeah. Oh,
It's
yeah.
like
Yeah. Yeah.
we're doing so much that just by me wrestling a slow pace, I can get booed by doing that. So I'm really looking for that Thanos just won effect when I'm out there wrestling.
Yeah. I mean, the
And
snap will do it.
because I think there is way like there's not enough subtlety in wrestling anymore. Like if you the baby faces, they do as much cheating as the heels do,
Hmm.
which in turn diminishes when heels cheat because everybody's doing it, so you can't even get booed for it anymore. So I have to kind of revert all the way back to what wrestling was like intended to be to get booed.
Yeah, I mean and I've said this many times over the years for anybody that thinks that wrestling works when you don't have polar opposites, I vastly disagree. I don't I don't think wrestling works without the and occasionally you can have friends wrestle each other and we know how those stories are told or whatnot, but or enemies wrestle each other. It's not the same. You have to have this guy's here, and they two different worldviews, two different ways of doing things, two different ways of conducting business. I just don't think it works any other way. I mean, I don't think it would have worked back in the day if Dusty and Rick hadn't been two completely different people with two completely different mindsets, two completely different ways of doing business. The same with Rock and Austin. If those guys were identical and did everything the same way, who would have cared about that feud? But
For
everyone cared
sure.
because they were so vastly different. I mean, that's I think that's what
For
makes it
sure.
work,
It's like
honestly.
the type of stuff that makes you choose a side. Like there's no in between.
Absolutely. Absolutely. This is a good question from Toby. Tony Khan and Triple H are on the phone with identical offers. Which one are you accepting and why? It's a good question.
Probably neither. Um,
Oh,
I'm not when I say like I'm not wrestling for the money, like I'm legitimately not. Like I am wrestling because I love wrestling.
hmm.
And the way I like to wrestle isn't respected on mainstream shows like that. And I mean, case in point, Jonathan Gresham, like he just left AEW because technical wrestling isn't given the proper time and attention that he feels like it should.
Hmm.
I
Um,
would definitely look at a NWA
mm.
or a New Japan, or like I love just the Indies in the UK.
So that I was going to hit you with this eventually, but I'll hit you with it now since we're going there. What do you have immediate goals? And if so, what are they? And do you have long-term goals? And if so, what are those?
Okay, so my immediate goals right now is to make myself as legitimate as possible. And what I mean by that is just conducting business because we hear like a lot of times that wrestling is this professional business. I have not run into many professionals yet, and I have not run into a business yet. So I have a work manager, but he's also like my shoot manager. Like he manages my schedule. He uh just this morning he was introducing new merch ideas. Like we're about to relaunch some merch in a little bit. He is about to re we're doing a little bit of rebranding, so I'm about to have a logo change in a little bit. when he's actually like in South Carolina and we have a show, he drives me to those shows. Like he's legitimately my manager. We have a 3-year contract right now. Just signed that back in March. Just in a little bit, I'm gonna start developing just an agreement for myself and the promoter that I'm working for that, hey, I was here on this day and this year and I got paid this much, just so I can just keep legitimate books of what I'm doing and what I have going on. And I'm always just trying to make sure whatever I do, it is as legitimate and official as possible. Because there isn't like, I don't know of any indie companies having like insurance for their guys or like anything crazy like that. So I have to do that myself.
Hmm.
And I'm just trying to be the most official Brino Royce as possible and up my stock. So when I start getting booking inquiries, they're booking the character and the officialness that I created versus seeing something online that they like and, oh, I have this idea for your character. No, I want you to go ahead and book the character that I've already created. So I'm just
Hmm.
trying to make myself as official as possible and just like up my stock whenever I can.
Yeah. I mean, that reminds me a lot of Paul Ellering back in the day. Like Paul Ellering legitimately was Hawk and Animals manager. He it wasn't a figurehead. It wasn't a gimmick. It was he booked their flights. He took care of everything. He took care of their pay, made sure everything went where it was supposed to, make sure they were at the hotel on time, booked the hotels for them. I mean, yeah, he was a legit manager in every sense of the word. Michael King, let's give him a shout out because I think he showed up here and I didn't put his comment up on the screen. So yeah, and he's a pro, man, for sure. Ray every week on the main event hits me with a question that's hip hop related because he knows how I roll. So he's hit us with one: Ice Cube or Busta Rhymes, and part two, House of Pain or Rex in Effect. And if Adam Cole wanted to give you a free central air conditioning put in your house free and wanted to hook up a friend, could I have it? And later wanted to get pumpkin pie, could I have some as well? Ray's got way
so
too much time on his hands.
so I actually hate pumpkin pie, so you can have all that.
Oh,
It's really weird. He like hitting my soul with these questions today. So when I was like, I would say maybe 2, I developed like this like super irrational fear of Busta Rhymes. So
wow. Was it the video because he was all up in your face? Is that what it
yeah,
was?
it was one of those videos and he had just like a bunch of face paint on. And as a kid, I was
That's
not
right.
messing with it. You know which one I'm talking about?
Yeah, put your hands where my
Woo-ha,
eyes can
woo-ha,
see. Is
that
that was a
one.
woo-ha? Yeah.
Yeah, like I was not messing with that at all as a kid. So I've been like pretty much like just trembling fear of him ever since then.
Wow.
So Ice Cube easy. This dude been watching me. Who is this, Ray?
Ray's awesome. He'll be your fan for life, man. I'm telling you. Uh, I gotta go. I like Ice Cube a lot, but I gotta go with Busta, man. He's just so energetic and so different. When he first hit, he was the most different rapper in the game. I mean, he was just had his
I can
own
see that for
style,
sure.
and I respect that. And for me, I mean, I don't know House of Pain Rex. I don't know. That'd be tough. House of Pain Rex in Effect. I'm maybe Rex in Effect. Maybe. And yes, of course, Ray, you can have essential air and get pumpkin pie as well. He outdoes himself every week. He spends 6 days getting ready to ask questions, and then he hits me with something out of the blue. So there you go. Yeah. If you're on any podcasts on this channel on Facebook, he'll be watching, I promise, and he'll hit you with that question or a
No, you
question
you
similar.
see, I recognized him. I was like, was that the Adam Cole dude?
His reputation precedes him. Robbie says, Mr. Royce, some wrestlers have lines they will or will not cross in wrestling, like won't wrestle women or talk about opponent's family when they get the mic or won't take chair shots. What will you do or not do as a wrestler? That's an excellent question.
Hmm. So for sure, I won't wrestle women. I just won't because I'm approaching this from this is a sport aspect, you know. Um, a really interesting one that I've never really put words to, but that I just refuse to do. I'm not yelling ever in promos, just because one, everybody's doing it. Two, from my character standpoint, I have this wealth, these resources, this knowledge. I'm in control. Why do I need to yell? And I
Good
think
point.
a lot of people don't take account into their character and how would their character react to this specific situation. It's just, okay, I got to cut a promo. I'm going to yell. I'm going to give you the address of this place. And I'm about to talk about my opponent's mama real quick. Like, what would your character actually do? So you'll see a lot of my promos are from like a boardroom office. I'm chilling in the AC, got like professional lighting set up. What am I mad about? I'm not about to yell. I'm in control.
That reminds me of a great Ole Anderson promo from back in the day when he's Bob Caudle standing next to him and he's talking about Dustin. He goes, "I'm not going to yell. I'm not going to holler. All I'm going to tell you is we're going to hurt you. We're going to hurt you real bad." And I thought that's scarier to me than the guy screaming and pointing his finger.
Yes, that right there. And another inspiration was Jake the Snake.
Oh,
Like when he
classic.
spoke, you just had to like lean in and listen. Like he's not yelling at you, but you just got to shut up and like
Yeah.
listen. And that's what I'm going for. Like, why do I need to
Yeah.
yell if I have a microphone? You should
That's
just shut up.
that's more unsettling to me than anything else. If you had said you'd work a woman, that would have been fine. But I respect the fact that you said you wouldn't. I'm really weird about that, and I believe women deserve as high of a place on the card, depending on how talented as they are. I mean,
Oh,
if
for
they've
sure,
worked,
for
you
sure.
know what I mean. I have no problem with women main eventing a card. We had an HEW women main event the card over men because they earned it and they deserved it. And I have no problem with women wrestling. I just am personally not a fan of men wrestling women. I just don't think it's a
Me
good
neither.
look. You know, like I said, I've got a 13-year-old son and I've wizened him up to a lot of this stuff, you know, but you're still making contact. I don't need my kid thinking it's okay to slap a woman. I don't need him
For
thinking
sure.
that. You know, it's weird to me. So I don't know. Maybe that's
That
old fashioned.
th- that right there, and just like the whole like my gimmick is pretty much practicality.
Mm,
So I'm a Greco-Roman wrestler, Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, and I also train Muay Thai.
nice.
If I'm a heel, I shouldn't really have to cheat. Like I have these different tools. Like I can pretty much do what I want with you and have my way. I shouldn't have to cheat, you know? So,
Good point.
and I have a hard enough time feeling like it's hard to like have that legit like shoot background and make wrestling men make sense
Mm,
and struggling with them make sense, you know? So I wouldn't I definitely wouldn't be able to just make it happen with like, and I'm not gonna say just a woman in general, but like somebody who is like that much smaller than me in mass or not that much strong. Like if I elbow you or forearm you, you should go to sleep. Period.
yeah. Yeah.
Like there shouldn't be a match. Like
Yeah. And honestly, that would go if you were wrestling a cruiserweight who's a buck 20. I mean,
yeah,
if you
for
hit him
sure.
hard enough, he should be asleep. You're right. Like it's yeah.
And
I
that's
don't
why closed fist punches in general don't make sense to me in wrestling. If everybody wrestles, sure, we can get different outcomes and we can get upsets and we can get surprised. But after you get hit so many times in the face, you're not swollen up, you're not bleeding, nobody's knocked out. Like this, it gets silly real quick.
yeah, yeah. You're not leaving DNA behind, as Jim Ross would say. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so another thing I do when I come out to the ring, I have a personal cut man, and he'll go ahead and like vaz up my cheeks and my eyebrows and stuff because
That's
I'm trying to make sense of
great.
this. If I can't stop people from throwing closed fisted punches, I'm gonna at least let the audience know that I'm like preparing for it.
I love that. That's awesome. That's awesome. Toby's asking if he can promote his Facebook group in the chat. Toby, you're a loyal viewer. Go ahead and promote away, my friend. Toby also said, I lost interest in men versus women when Tessa beat Cage. Yeah, I watched that match and 20 seconds in, I'm like, this is not good. This is not a good match. I mean, it's man, yikes. Yikes.
Look,
Yeah,
just about anybody beating Cage, like
let's
anybody's like he's crazy big.
yeah, unless you're Brody King. I mean, it's, anybody pinning him clean. There's a problem with that, in my opinion. I mean, I don't get that. Yeah, I do believe it hurts. And Chris came back with, I dislike promos about family members. I am back and forth on that. Like a lot of people, and I mentioned Punk earlier, a lot of people had a problem when Punk did the urn when Paul Bearer passed away. A lot of people had a problem when Orton said Eddie Guerrero's in hell. Christian talking about Jungle Boy's dad, Luke Perry. My response to that is if the family signs off on it with the understanding of we're not talking about the man, we're talking about the character. I
Yeah.
mean, honestly, Brino, I don't think Eddie Guerrero would have cared at all that his name was used in a promo.
No, for sure.
Eddie was as carny as any of the rest of those guys. Why would he care if his name was used after the fact?
Yeah, for sure.
You know?
Just like you were saying, like as long as it's within good taste and it's not a shoot, like people know it's gonna happen before it happens, I'm okay with that. I think a lot of
Nathan,
times that's the thing that happens is that professional wrestling online gets real weird
yeah,
because some guy will say something like crazy out of the blue, and then when the guy reacts to it, he'll message and be like, "Oh, bro, I was just working you." Well, it's not a work because you didn't tell me. What makes
right.
it a work is both parties knowing about it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Nathan Workman is my producer here on the show. You're right. Eddie would have loved it. And that's a good point. I've told the story before. I've been in locker rooms before where somebody will show up and all week on Facebook or Twitter, they've been going at each other, but one of them didn't know what was going on. So I've been in heated moments where the guys come up to him and said, "Do we have a problem, dude?" And the other guy's like, "No, why would we have a problem? This was all for the match." He's like, "You didn't tell me it was for a match." You know what I mean? So like, I don't know. But digital media, and trust me, dude, my shoot job, I'm a social media manager for a company. That's my full-time shoot job. So like I get it. Sometimes things you'll read a comment or a tweet and you're like, what did that supposed to mean? You got to take
Yeah,
a
for
step
sure.
back and say, wait a minute, maybe he didn't mean it that way. So like, it's hard to know sometimes, man, honestly. Let's see. Yeah. Nathan said, because this was about Dominic being Eddie's kid and not Ray's kid. People are
Hey,
still talking about that.
have you seen Dominic with the mullet?
That's a good point, actually. Yeah.
Hey, have you seen
Yeah. I'm your pappy. They need to bring that shirt back. I'm your pappy. Yeah. That's good stuff. Yeah. I just think people get all up in their feelings about their favorite wrestlers, and I completely understand that. Some stuff I look back at it and I say, did we need to do that? But look, you know this as well as anybody else. You know this more so because you're actually in it. It's all subjective, dude. Like
For sure.
what you liked as a kid, your buddy may not have liked. What I like, maybe this guy over here thinks is ridiculous. I mean, this is, and I've made this comment so many times, and I don't know why some people don't get it. I'll never understand why people don't get it. We're not talking about stats in the NBA. We're not talking about free throw percentage or field goal percentage or who can shoot from the key. We're not talking about any of that where it's honest to God, concrete stats on paper. You can't argue with numbers, period. We're talking about, well, I like him. Well, you shouldn't because you ought to like him. That's your opinion, man. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I don't understand. People get so bent out of shape over that. It's crazy. Wilf, you've put this question up a couple times, but I don't know if I want to put it up there. Has Brino ever got hurt or someone or hurt someone? I mean, I'll let you answer that how you want to. Have you had any injuries? And unless you don't want to talk about, has there been anything happened in a match that you didn't expect that maybe someone came out of it limping or hurt, or hopefully not is the answer. But have you got anything for that?
They are just like at my neck today. So I'm actually walking off a little ankle injury that happened about 3 weeks ago now.
Oh,
It's getting better, but I wrestled Lucky Ali on it last Friday night. Leaving in crutches, the whole nine, like all that. Last year when I first started, there was a miscommunication between me and a guy who I wasn't supposed to be in the ring with.
oh,
And I ended up making contact on a kick that he wasn't used to yet.
yeah.
So I had to like pick him up and walk him to the back and like, hey, I'm sorry, blah, blah, blah. But since then, nothing.
Yeah, and I mean, what's the old saying? This ain't ballet, right? I mean, things
Yeah, for sure.
happen, and no matter how much you may be angry at an opponent or want to take somebody out because it got personal or whatever, at the end of the day, the name of the game, despite what some people think, the name of the game is not about killing somebody. It's about, hey, we all work for this one company. whatever that looks like. And we'd like for this company to make lots of money because that means we do too. Duh, right? So like, if we all get hurt tonight, there's no show tomorrow. That's not a good thing for anybody. So like, common sense needs to prevail, dude. And sometimes it does not for whatever reason. Kids, we're going to take a few more here before we take it home. Has anyone else got anything good for Brino? Please fire it at us. Basically, this entire episode's been an open floor. Usually I wrap up my shows with what I call an open floor where anybody could ask whatever they want to. This is a good one. Question for Brino. Favorite rib? You can change names, places to protect the innocent if need be. That's a good question. Do you get into that? Do you rib people or get ribbed all that much?
I do not. That's
No?
I show up, I wrestle who I'm supposed to wrestle, I get paid. So I deal with a lot of anxiety. So I'm just not into surprises at all.
That's fair enough. Honestly, we hear stories about a ribbon that went on in the 80s with guys getting their ponytails cut off and, stuff getting put in shoes and in duffel bags. I'm like, what is wrong with you people that you can't? What are we talking about?
So it's not that I don't appreciate the culture of that. I just don't participate myself because of what I have
Sure.
going on.
Yeah, I can respect that. We were George South used to come up for us quite a bit as well. He was up just about every weekend, and he brought, and I don't know if his real name was Rob something. Mass Superstar number 2 was his gimmick. Big guy. He was probably 6'5", 6'6", 320 pounds, big dude. And we had George booked against this kid who was only in the business a few months, maybe at that, in the ring actually wrestling. And backstage, Rob gets a hold of this kid, and he's a little nervous about wrestling George. And he says, well, I'll tell you something George loves. When they ring the bell, George spends the first 10 minutes of every match jawing at the crowd. George's matches go 20 minutes, but 10 of those minutes are jawing at the crowd before he even makes contact with his opponent, right? He's been doing it for years. And Rob tells him after the bell rings, just go up when George's back is turned and grab his arm for an arm bar. He likes when you put yourself out there and really take charge. He'll work off that. And he's like, you sure? And I wasn't privy to this because I would have said, George, don't go out there and grab George South. Have you lost your mind? But he did it. And George South's doing his thing with the crowd, and he feels his arm get pulled on, and he put that kid on the mat, dude. And it was not pretty from that point on. He didn't kill him or anything.
Man.
But let me just tell you, after the match, he gets back through the curtain. He's very animated. He's like, what was that? Brother, what was that out there? And he goes, and he looks like he's pale as a ghost. And Rob cannot stop laughing to save his life. He had to get in between them. He said, please don't get mad. I said, I did it. It's all my fault. And I'm like, that kind of stuff. I saw things like that happen, but it was never anything too drastic. Do you know what I mean? So
yeah, for sure.
Yeah, it's crazy. Let's see. A couple more kids, and we're going to take it home. Ron says, what's your after? That's a good question. Do you have an after match?
See, here we go. So I like to get undressed out of my wrestling gear. Sometimes I won't make it out of my gear, but if Ron is usually there, him, Mike, a few other friends, we'll sit around and just have a cigar, and we'll discuss some new business for like future shows or like the next show at this place. We just like to sit down, talk about what we like, what we didn't like, what we can do better, and just like we get a good chunk of business done over a cigar.
Nice. Well, kids, I think that's just about going to take us home. We've run a little bit over an hour, and yeah, dude, this has been a fun show, man. Thanks everybody for tuning in as always. Before we get out of here, I got to hit you this for Nathan. What's your favorite cigar? Do you have a favorite?
Oh, the Olivia's, like that. Anything that brand, like not even just like a certain one, but anything that brand. That's my favorite. Love those.
He says he's a Cohiba man himself.
Oh, okay.
You guys are talking over my head, dude.
I've never met anybody that likes those.
Oh, really? Wow. Dude, I've been straight edge my whole life. I've never smoked or drank a thing. So this is all over my head, dude. All of it. So there you go. Brino, I got to thank you a lot for making it today, for giving us your time. I know you're a busy guy. Before we get out of here, plug some things for us, man. Tell us what you're going to be doing in the next few weeks. And if there's any websites you want the kids to go to or accounts to follow, let them know that too.
Yes, sir. So this Sunday, we got Pro Wrestling Savage going on up in Charlotte. That's Thomas Scott's promotion. You'll see me there in action on the 27th of August. As we talked about, we got Viper Show at HBW. I got K Holiday. Let's see, for merch, we can go to theke.com. That's King Enterprises. You can get merch from myself or any other athlete we got signed under King Enterprises right now. And that's everything I got to plug.
Cool. Well, dude,
support technical wrestling, please.
Oh, absolutely. Support pro wrestling, period, kids. Go out and watch some shows this weekend. Watch it on TV. Just absorb everything you can. You'll find something you love out there. I promise you. Brino, thanks again for hanging out with us, man. I appreciate
you, man.
Bro. We'll have to have you back on again sometime soon, dude.
Maybe after I whoop K Holiday, that'll be a good one.
That's a good response. Sit tight with us just for a second, Brino. I appreciate you. Hold tight. All right, kids, there you go. That's Brino Royce. I got to thank everybody for tuning in as always. Thanks for giving us your time. Remember to go and subscribe to Tom Clark's 6M podcast. New episodes drop every Tuesday. This past Tuesday, we put out, what did we put out this past Tuesday? I'm drawing a blank. Con Air was last week. This past Tuesday was, I'm drawing a blank. That shows you how much I do these episodes. I don't remember. It was Dick Tracy. That's it. See, I don't forget stuff that much, but it's all right. Thanks again, kids, for watching. We appreciate you. Everybody have a great week, okay? We'll see you. We should be back next Friday. If anything changes, I'll let you know. But yeah, thanks again, folks. We'll see you again. Have a good rest of your week and a great weekend and a great next week. We'll see you soon. That's it for us, kids. See you next time. Tom Clark's Main Event.